Futures trading involves risk and is not suitable for all investors. Content provided in this segment is meant for educational purposes and is not a solicitation to buy or sell commodities.
Hello and welcome to the November 14th edition of Basis Loaded with Joe Schmit. I am Joe Schmit, and as always, this episode is produced by Paige Driscoll with help from the Ever Ag Insights team. As you can see, it is a lovely fall day, 51 and overcast. I expect it to stay that way, overcast at least, for the next several months. What better way to celebrate than with the latest from the NDPSR report? And we'll start this week with butter. This butter number came in at $273.10. That's a nice price. That's a +4 to the CME 1 week average of $268.95, and that's with 10 loads trading at the CME. So pretty decent volume at the CME. That volume doesn't really translate here to the NDPSR, just a little bit north of 2.5 million. So about 1 million pounds short of our expected volume. But as I said, the manufacturer able to call a 4-cent premium in the fall is pretty impressive. And that butter number, after doing a lot of business a couple weeks ago in the low 60s, is showing some resilience here in terms of price. Now, the volume has stopped, but in terms of price, it's showing some resilience. So all in all, I'd have to say that that's a win for the butter manufacturer. And up next is our cheese contracts, the blocks, coming in at $195.19. That represents a +4 to the CME 1 week average of $191. We traded 5 loads at the CME last week, so +4 is pretty close to our normal range in the block. And at that normal basis, volume falling off a little bit, just a little bit short of 12 million pounds. So disappointing volume on what you would call the high end of our average basis. That story is similar for the barrels, 195.21, this week's barrel number, and that's a +6 to the CME 2 week average of 189.55. We traded 1 load, 1 barrel at the CME last week, so limited volume at the CME. However, here on the NDPSR, a little bit short of our expected volume, but a little bit north of 12.5 million pounds, certainly not a huge disappointment. So you'll notice that both contracts here are coming in right around the 195 area, that barrel basis a little bit higher than the block basis, so you get both prices at essentially that 195 level. As that basis returns to normal, it kind of feels like it's an end of that product being shipped at a higher level, whether that was for export or domestic user that ended up short a few extra loads, and that was the reason we had the run up to 260. Either way, it looks like that product has shipped, and of course now prices at the CME have been moving south. Typically, you would expect significantly higher basis on a move like we've seen at the CME, but here just a little bit above normal. So possibly an indication that prices in the real world are moving in step with the declines that we've seen at the CME. In the way, 58.17, that's a -2 to the CME 1 week average of 60.35. We traded 10 loads at the CME, 10 loads of whey last week. And again, pretty good volume here on the NDPSR. North of 6.2 million pounds. So a little bit of a decline week to week, but you'll notice in whey, we're always looking back at that October 26 number. So a pretty decent increase over prior week's NDPSR. And at that premium, the manufacturer was able to call 6.2 million or a little bit more. And that is impressive. So the week-to-week decline may come as a surprise to some. Next week, we'll be using this November 2nd as a benchmark, or next week are, of course, sales that occur this week. This week, we're using the November 2nd benchmark, which is a 58.32. So we have a higher benchmark next week. I would expect if the manufacturer is going to continue to call a premium over prior week's NDPSR, that we should see an increase in NDPSR whey next week. It'll be curious if we return to that stair step 2 weeks steady-ish, and then we take a leg up as we've seen throughout this whey rally. And then lastly, non-fat 136.62. That represents, we'll call it a flat basis to the CME 1 week average of 136.11. Non-fat was our CME leader last week with 11 lows trading on the exchange. So at that flat basis, the manufacturer able to move about 16.5 million pounds. So NDPSR below our expected levels, but compared to recent weeks, it's a bit of a windfall for the manufacturer to be able to move north of 16.5 million pounds at a flat basis. We'll have to call that a win. So this is week 2 of 5 for the November pricing cycle. Currently getting a November class 3 with the declines that we've seen at the CME this week in cheese. November class 3 all the way down to 1989. What a great year that was. And class 4 up at 2087. So we have that class 4 over class 3 relationship, once again, inverted relationship. If you carry current CME equivalents out through the entire December pricing cycle, you're currently getting a December class 3 of 1840 with a December class 4. We'll keep it at that 2087. So next week will be my final week recording Basis Loaded. At that point going forward, it will be some different version of the show. Please don't hesitate to reach out to the Insights team and let them know what you like about the current show, what you would like to see different. Not having to look at my face will already be different, so please don't include that in your comments. Until next week, I'm Joe. We'll see you soon. Bye.